Hey guys, welcome back to Home Built, and this week I will get the Alfarrari float coated. All right, I promise I don't just sit here watching very good quality YouTube videos all day, but that might be a good time to have a quick break and have a quick talk about this week's channel sponsor. So Surfshark is a VPN or a virtual private network that is like a mask that covers you up and protects everything you do while you're online. It's fantastic if you're traveling and you can use it on unlimited devices, and it's also really good if you like entertainment. So potentially you can log into Netflix in different countries all around the world and get their local content that you can't necessarily get where you are. So you're free to watch whatever content you want to online without tracking or censorship, like home built videos. So Surfshark have given me a really good deal to give to you guys, which is an 83% discount on a 24-month plan. You get 3 months for free and a 30-day money-back guarantee, which is a pretty good deal, I reckon. If you use my promo code HOMEBUILT, there's a link, QR code here, or a link in the description below so you can check it out. And I need to stop blathering and get back to work. So let's get back into this. All right, guys, welcome back. And as you saw in the last episode, I got the car completely ready for a float coat and I ran out of time. And I am very glad that I took the break when I needed it. It's not worth rushing just to get the job done, particularly just to get the video out. And then I just make myself more work for later on because it's just not right. So I am happy that I stopped, and it's basically ready for me to start going around and start touching up. Now, if you missed it, I'll put a link up above so you can catch up and think about subscribing. It does help us out. Obviously, last week I painted the Ferrari inlet plenums. There are lots of people who still think it should have been wrinkle red. I don't particularly want it wrinkle red. Some people are saying it should have been a wrinkle yellow. I didn't want it wrinkle yellow, mostly because the wrinkle black and wrinkle red you can buy, or at least I know where I can get it as a can, ready to go. You just have it bare metal, you just spray on the wrinkle red and it's done. And you don't have to do anything else. To get the yellow, it doesn't come in the yellow, so I have to do it in the black, paint over the black with the yellow to try and get it to match, but then it gets dirty and it won't necessarily look like it matches perfectly with the yellow. It just wouldn't match properly. I think it looks better, and I think this looks amazing in the gloss yellow, particularly with the way I plan to do the rest of the engine, which I'll cover when I get to that. But this is looking really good. I'm quite happy. Lots of people were upset that I didn't grind the welds down and tidy the welds up. I'm happy enough to show my average welding. They don't stand out like crazy anyway, but I didn't want to grind them down because on aluminium, it doesn't make the same bond as it does on steel, so they're not as strong. And if you grind back aluminium welds, they are much weaker. Whereas steel welds, you can grind them back and they're really good. But I really worry about these being weak and being brittle, so I was happy leaving them as they are. So with that done, it's time to go around now. I'm going to go over the car again, make sure I've got my little pieces of tape everywhere where there's a little touch-up I need to do on the car, and I'll take you around and show you where I'm touching up and how I'm going to do it to get them all nice and neat and tidy so that when I float coat the car, it will be the final time, and hopefully it'll be a really nice result. All right, so I've gone around the car and put little bits of tape everywhere where I need to do touch-ups. So actually, I'm missing a piece of tape here, but this is a really obvious one. I'm not sure whether the camera will pick that up. You can sort of see here where I had sanded through a touch-up I'd done previously. So there is yellow, then clear, then yellow on top again, and I sanded through it, and you can sort of see these halos, and you can sort of see there's a bit of a line here. I think the camera's just picking it up there. You can sort of see the edges of some of my repairs that weren't done quite neatly enough, and other little tiny rub throughs like here. The silver, I showed you when I did this, you can't really see it while I sanded back, but there was a reaction along this front edge here that the silver had started reacting with the clear underneath when I painted the silver stripes. So I'm going to go over and do them again, and just going around the car and lots of little places, little things. You know, I did some damage here, so that's something else I fixed up. And there's lots of little spots. There might be even just like here. I don't know if you can see it. There's a little speck of hair or something in the paint, a speck of dust that was in the paint that's left a little mark. I may as well touch them up now and get it as good as I can possibly get it. So I'll show you exactly how I'm going to touch these things up. And I think I'm going to start with the yellow. All right, so the first things I'm going to touch up are going to be the yellow part, and particularly because some of these bits are dark, I need to do the ground coat first and then the color. And what I'm going to do is, instead of blowing in big areas of the ground coat, I'm actually going to use the airbrush, and just by using the airbrush I can spot in the little bits that I need to touch up, and then I can go back over afterwards with the proper fly yellow and get it all looking just right. So I'll take you around now. This, basically with the airbrush, it only takes a few drops of paint. That's it, and that should do all the touch-ups around the whole car. Very efficient, very quick, and small, so I'm not just spraying big areas again. All right, so I've gone through now and I've done the touch-ups where I need to, all around the place on the yellow. And using the airbrush, I can keep the areas that I touch up to a minimum, and then what I'm going to do now is go over it. I'm going to mask up the silver stripes and do it in sections, but I'm still going to use a spray gun, and I'll have the paint thinned out a bit, and I'm just going to blend it over just so that it blends back into the yellow of the car. The fly yellow will be the dominant color and should cover over, and you won't see that there was ever an issue. All right, well that seemed to go reasonably smoothly, and I've gone over, I've done all of my yellow touch-ups, and it's looking pretty good. So now I need to go through and remask up the stripes where I've got my issues. So the bonnet here is particularly bad, that bit's okay, and there's a little bit down on the nose here, and there's a little bit on the tailgate. So I'm just going to mask up those bits, then cover up the rest of the car, and then we can blow them in, because I do not want to get silver speckle overspray over everything before I clear it in, because that would be bad. All right, so you can see here that I went through and I masked back up the silver area, and I've covered the entire car in plastic so that I don't get that glitter overspray over everything. So I'm going to go over now and just dust in the areas that I made the mistakes, where I know there's little issues along these edges and where there was some reaction in the paint. I can just blow it in and blend it out. And there's also a couple of little rub throughs and little spots where I've masked it up here. I'm blow it in, so then when I clear the whole thing, it should be nice and even. I know this does kind of mess up the theory of the flow coat, because the flow coat is supposed to be getting the car perfectly flat and then do the final clear and it's perfect and as, as flat as it's going to be. There is going to be some edges in some of these places, but again, because it's got most of the coverage there, I don't have to actually put that much paint on. So I'm not going to get these heavy edges. There will be some, but I can still chop them out with the clear once I flow coat it. So it's not the end of the world, and at least I get to touch up my mistakes. So let's start blending it in. All right, well, that all went remarkably well. So while I was unmasking the car, I deliberately cut it all and peeled it off rather than dragging it over the top. Because I had wet the floor, I didn't want any of the wet plastic dragging over the paint. So I peeled everything away from the body of the car so that I've got a nice clear area, and everything is looking good. All the touch-ups I wanted to do are done. The whole car is looking pretty good. So there's nothing else to do now but to actually do the final flow coat of the car. I'm going to take my time. I'm going to get it all perfect. I'm going to go over and just tack rag it again, tack rag it again, tack rag it again. I can't re-clean it. I've already cleaned it multiple times, but that would actually potentially sort of mark the paint and you'd see it. So just tack rag it all very lightly one last time, and then just, it is what it is. Let's flow coat the car. Well, that is looking fantastic. I did mess up slightly because I shouldn't have gone over it with a tack rag. While the silver was in base coat, the fact is that I went over it with a tack rag, and you can see where I sort of wiped the tack rag. So you can, if you look closely and you get the right light in the silver, you can actually see some of those wiping marks. It's not the end of the world. It's pretty much just the bonnet and the boot, which I can clear separately later and touch it up if and when it comes to that. I will do it, but yeah, it doesn't have to be right now, so that is okay. The rest of it looks really good. I did get some, despite being as clean as possible, I still got little bits of dust in it in places and little sort of specks of sort of fuzz. And wherever I did them while it was wet, I went around with the tip of a razor blade and just picked them up. And by doing that while it's wet, it might leave a little sort of smudge in the clear, but that's easy enough to sort of sand out and polish out later. So I'm not worried about that. Overall, it looks fantastic and it's done. The shell is done, it's painted, and that means we can move on. But for this week, that is all we've got time for. So I think that means it's time for Fun Facts with Mrs. Jeff.
Hey guys, after finishing second for the previous 2 years in the Formula One Constructors' Championship, Ferrari developed the F186 for the 1986 championship. Driven by Italian Michele Alboreto and Swedish Stefan Johansson, the F186 was the most powerful road or race car Ferrari has ever built to this day. The car was powered by a 1.5 litre V6 turbo, making 1250 horsepower in qualifying trim, but was turned down to 850 horsepower for race trim. It was one of the fastest cars of the year on the straight, only bettered by the BMW powered cars, but it was let down by its poor handling. At the French Grand Prix, Alboreto managed to blast past Nigel Mansell on the straight, only to hold him up in the corners. Ultimately, Alboreto qualified 6/10 behind Mansell. Despite being more reliable than its predecessor, the car only managed 5 podiums that year. 4 for Johansson and 1 for Alboreto.
And we have a painted car. Well, sort of, except for the bits I stuffed up.
Oh, but
it's so frustrating because I took my time to do it properly, and I just spaced with the silver. With the yellow, there's no issue. You can't see anything with the yellow. It's only the metallic, because the metallics all sort of sit in a space, and yes, if you look closely, you can just sort of see some white marks. It's
just from the right angle.
But anyway, that can be sorted out later. I've still got other little bits and pieces to paint, so that's easy enough to just sand back and just touch up again. But yeah.
But
anyway,
you know, as you say, if it's worth doing once, no. If it's worth doing multiple times.
It was something twice, but it just ends up being more than that.
It is always going to be. I feel like you're just jinxing it saying that. Anyway. Moving on from the...
But now that it's painted, we can start moving towards the reassembly phase, which is, I'm so excited.
How many times do you think you're going to put the engine in and out, in and out, in and out?
Hopefully not too many more. Hopefully it goes in and stays in, but you know me, you'll probably miss something. But when it goes in, there's still stuff to do on it, but when it goes in, it hopefully will go in for good.
Everything crossed. Like and subscribe if you want to follow Jeff a day earlier on Patreon. It really helps him out with his builds. You get to see a video a day early with no ads. Yep. And I believe that's all. So yes. Getting exciting.
It's getting exciting. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
For the previous 2 years in the Ferrari Championship Constructors, Formula One Constructors Championship. Previous 2 years in the Formula One Championship Constructors. After finishing second...
Michele?
Isn't it?
Michele or Michelle?
Oh, Michelle. No, Michelle's French. Michele would be the Italian. Yeah, I think the CH is a K.
Okay.
Now someone will tell us if we're wrong.